We got goalies scoring on their own net.
Oh, he put it in his own net!
The youngest player in the NHL has taken the league by storm.
Here's Celebrini, and he scores!
And players' frustrations are starting to boil over.
And here comes Muzikin's out on Weaver.
The NHL was not ready for this. It was one of the most chaotic weeks that the league has seen this season, so let's cover everything that really happened in Week 8 of the NHL. Sunday, Maple Leaf Special. With 15 games on Saturday night, the beauty of NHL scheduling means that we had just 2 teams in action on Sunday. The lucky 2 to dance are the Leafs and the Utah no-name Brands. We've got 2 Nylanders in the lineup tonight, and Willie was clearly jacked up about it because he gets a goal and an assist in this one, and the Leafs have been on a tear without their captain, Austin Matthews. They now improved to 7-1 without him, and after scoring 2 goals tonight in their 3-2 win, Mitch Marner now has 14 points in those 8 games. That next contract is going to look juicy. And also, the losing streak that'll inevitably happen when Matthews returns is going to hit like crack for 31 other fan bases. But right now, they have to endure Leaf Nation. And sitting on top of the Atlantic Division, the parade has never been more on. Monday, Celebrini time. A massive night in the NHL started with the Panthers and the Capitals. No Ovechkin, no problem. The Caps take care of the Panthers, who have all of a sudden lost 6 of their last 7. Could be a Stanley Cup hangover, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. Then there was also shocking news out of New York as Elliot Friedman reported that the Rangers were looking to shake things up after a big L to Edmonton. And some of the names that were dropped were Captain Jacob Trouba and fellow PETA guy from Sausage Party and Chris Kreider. And to make things even more interesting, the Blues beat him 5-2. That just so happened to be new coach Jim Montgomery's first win behind the bench, as the Blues just booted their old coach Drew Bannister almost instantly after Montgomery became available. Now let's check in on the chaotic Colorado Avalanche, who are getting absolutely pumped by the Lightning. Georgiev and Anunin led in 8 together, with Hagel recording 5 assists. And if the Avs by miracle weren't going to get bag skated after that performance, they're definitely going to get it after Miles Wood slams his stick and it ricochets right into Coach Jared Bednar's face. Real smooth, pal. Speaking of smooth criminals, how about the 18-year-old kid Macklin Celebrini? First, he goes no-look shelf, and then he wires one top bunk where Mama hides the peanut butter to give them the lead. The Sharks' offense explodes with 5 goals against the Kings in the third, and they're just 5 points out of a playoff spot. The Sharks smell blood, baby, and they're coming, which is honestly pretty much needed after how miserable it was to watch them last year. The team who's already here and fully ready to go are the Hurricanes, and led by the real Slim Shady himself, Marty Necas gets another 2 points as his breakout year continues to be dynamite for Carolina. In other news, the Preds still suck. At some point, it's got to become less shocking, but the Devils outshoot them 35-15 in the final 2 periods. Nico, he said, she said, he sure gets the natural hat trick. Say that 5 times along with the Predators stink, and you'll be exhausted. Probably not as tiring as being a Flyers fan, as the rebuild remains taxing, but at least Michkov stays hot and scores a goal. But Vegas ain't going to let those 2 points slip away, and they beat them in the shootout with the forgotten superstar and Jack Eichel grabbing the winner. Now, with Sens fans slowly accepting that their team is mid, Ottawa has to do what they do every year and give their fans a tiny bit of hope that there's just something more to this team. Despite a strong push from Calgary, the Sens snapped their 5-game losing streak to give their fans a flicker of hope that this team is actually different. Now, hope is a concept that should be long gone for the New York Islanders. Every time they've played Detroit this season, they've had a lead and have given it up. They had a 2-1 lead in this one, and what do you know? Same shit. I'm convinced that being an Islanders fan is the quickest way to acquire depression. They're old, they're slow, they're boring, and worst of all, they're bad. Islanders fans deserve better, goddammit. Something's gotta change. After watching that boring brand of hockey, you gotta get a cleanse of the palate with 2 great teams in the Wild and the Jets. There's no Kaprizov in this one, and they could have used him as they throw 44 shots at Hellebuck, and he stops all but 1. An absolute wall back there. Finally, we saved the best for last in our toilet bowl match of the night between the Ducks and the Kraken. Despite the Ducks being frequent participants in these matchups, they can't outsuck the Kraken, who beat them 4-2 to end off Monday night. Tuesday, homecoming. Look out, it's a Gary Bettman classic once again, jam night of hockey the night before, and only 2 games on the next night that both start at the same time. Sick. Boston is fresh off a new head coach in Joe Sacco and actually played pretty well in this one. but Kevin Lankinen for the Canucks was having none of it. He shut out the Bruins, and to add a little salt in the wound, Jake DeBrusk scores the game winner. Bruins fans are miserable, and the rest of the league loves it. The other matchup was the Montreal Canadiens versus the Utah no-name brand. All tied at 2s with Utah carrying the mail, a scrum breaks out, and Sergachev and Gallagher start having a chat. And look at this. He gives them the good old fake right hook, and that is 2 for flinching on Gallagher, and that immediately warrants the scrum getting even greasier. Tough look for Gallagher, who's sporting the hairy look from Home Alone, and also gets caught flinching in the process. The cherry on top is the OT game winner being scored by none other than Mikhail Sergachev himself. The Utah no-name brand takes a heated one and gets a much-needed 2 points. Wednesday, Thanksgiving chaos. It's right before Thanksgiving, so pretty much every team was in action on Wednesday. Let's let the chaos begin with an absolute snoozer between the Wild and the Sabres. Kirill Kaprizov scores just 7 minutes in, and that's it. That's all the goals. Philip Gustafsson stops 39 shots, and the Sabres slip back to 500. How shocking. Now, the Ovilus Caps got the Lightning, and we picked this up in a tight 3-3 game. Charlie Lindgren comes out to play the puck, and this happened.
Lindgren. Oh, he put it in his own net! Charlie Lindgren!
But he just passes it into his own net. Absolute snipe. He must have had the over because that gives Tampa the lead and was actually credited to Braden Point, who gets the easiest hat trick of his life with that goal. Despite the debacle, this Caps team has balls. They tie it up, and then Tommy Wilson with a cheeky little tip in between the legs gives the Caps the late lead for a chaotic 5-4 win. Cheers to Charlie Lindgren as well for his first career NHL tuck. They don't ask how, baby. They just ask how many. Now, sleeper team moving forward has to be the St. Louis Blues. The Jim Montgomery era is going to have them being a lot more creative offensively, but they actually put on a defensive clinic in this one, shutting out the Devils in a 3-0 win. Moving on to the other new head coach, Joe Sacco's Bruins better beat the Islanders. And Captain Marchand wasn't going to take no for an answer as he double dips the chip with 2 goals in a 6-3 win, and the misery that is Islanders hockey continues to live on. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Taylor Hall turns back the clock and gets a hattie against the Stars. That is his first career hat trick since December of 2013. But the most important goal of the night was this piss missile from Connor Bedard. He looks up to the heavens after ripping it top cheese, and a huge look of relief after going 12 games with no goals. He needed that, the organization needed that, and they take care of Dallas. Down in Carolina, they're facing what seems to be like a free-falling Rangers team after they publicly said they want to shake things up. Brett Berard gets his first NHL goal, but that was the only feel-good moment for New York because Slim Shady had arrived. Nate just picks up another 2 assists to become the leading point scorer in the league, which was exactly who we all guessed to be dominant prior to the season. Unfortunately, it looks like the Leaf Parade is canceled after they lose 5-1 to the Panthers and continue to be an absolute failure when it comes to defeating contenders in their own division. Actually, let's scratch that because the parade is delayed, not canceled, due to the fact that they are banged up bad. Leaf Nation, you have an excuse for now. Let's take a look at this live footage of Tristan Jarry back from Shanghai to help the Penguins beat the Canucks. Finally, a much-needed win for Pittsburgh, and let's just not mention the fact that they almost blew a 5-1 lead to get this dub. Because of that, we're still keeping the campaign going of hashtag Save Sidney Crosby. Let's brush up on our toilet bowl teams as the Habs beat the Jackets in OT. They get a sweet pity point for Columbus, and the Kraken and Ducks go for round 2, and hey, it turns out Seattle can outsuck Anaheim after all. Flames fans also felt robbed after they take a too many men penalty in OT. Everybody loves Raymond except for Calgary as he buries the OT winner to keep the Yzer plan alive. Now, I'm going to admit, I have no read on this Colorado Avalanche team. Total wild card every single night. One night they're getting their doors blown off to Tampa, and then the next night they come out and beat the Golden Knights in a shootout. Imagine how good this team could be if they just can consistently get a save. But maybe they should call Big Save Dave Riddick. God, that guy's got a great name, and he will always get you a save in a pinch as he stops just 13 shots in a 4-1 Kings win over the Jets. Pretty rare to see that this season, but the Kings still remain quiet killers. Now look at this, just a couple of seconds left in this game, and it looks like Nashville may finally close this out against Philly.
Flyers trying to organize. Play to the net, they score!
Yep, probably should have expected that with the way the Preds season is going, and the Flyers complete the comeback with the OT goal, and as of late, they're starting to come on. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10 and 5th in the Pacific. Could we possibly see another Torts masterclass? Who knows? All I know is that the Preds are absolutely cheeks. Finally, we had the Sharks versus the Sens, and this was the type of game that had Sharks fans questioning their faith. They peppered the Sens by outshooting them 39-11. Celebrini Martini, shaken not stirred, continues to stay hot for being a rookie, but the Sens stay opportunistic and get a late one to win it. They dodge a bullet, and despite the injustice, Sharks fans continue to be excited for what lies ahead. Friday, Ranger disaster. We skipped Thursday because of American Thanksgiving, but Friday was jam-packed, starting with the continued collapse of the New York Rangers. My God, did they look brutal in the first 40 minutes of this game, and if it wasn't for Shesterkin, it probably would have been a blowout. But the Rangers were still in it, and Mika Zibanejad had a wide-open chance to tie the game, and that right there pretty much sums up how the last few games have gone for New York, as they dropped their 5th straight and are barely clinging on to the last wildcard spot as of right now. The Flyers, though, not too shabby. The Sabres are also pretty damn close to finally getting past their .500 record as they show some cojones, coming back from 3-1, only for Connor Garland to look like he's playing Twister in the crease and shovel one home for the OT winner. It's okay, Sabres fans, at least the Devils beat the Red Wings 5-4, so Detroit still remains the most dedicated team to the Bermuda Triangle of Mid in the Atlantic. Of course, the overtimes kept on coming, and you'll never guess how the Islanders got themselves in this situation against the Caps. 4-2 lead for the Islanders going into the third, and what do you know? They blow it. Hilarious. Death, taxes, and the Islanders not being able to hold on to a third period lead. Chychrun gets the OT winner, and the Caps continue to prove that they're a solid team even without the grade 8. Let's head over to the OT in Nashville, where things stay incredibly miserable thanks to Braden Point.
And they score! Braden Point!
That is his 16th goal in 18 games. Just unbelievably consistent production from him. But so are the Preds when it comes to absolutely sucking. Afterwards, Stamkos came out in the media and actually challenged the Preds' work ethic. That is a tough look for the organization. It's business as usual for the McDrysaitel duo as they both get a goal, but it's the youngest looking 31-year-old in the world, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who gets the dagger in OT.
Here comes Nugent-Hopkins. He shoots, he scores.
The Oilers win their 2nd in a row, and Utah still has no name. Now let's dive into this comeback from the Wild, who were down 2 to the Chicago Beddards. Then Captain Jared Spurgeon says, "Hop on, boys, I'm carrying this team," and he scores 2, including the game winner to keep the Beddards in the basement. Can't be easy being Bedard right now, especially while fans are seeing what Macklin Celebrini can do. The future 2025 Stanley Cup winning Sharks put up 8 goals against the Seattle Kraken, and both rookie centers in Celebrini and the Fresh Prince of San Jose and Will Smith had solid nights. The hope is there for the Sharks, and it's electric to watch. The same could be said for Cale Makar, who just carves through the Dallas defense and then makes magic happen.
Carries back in. Going east-west, sidestepping steal, sent it back across, score!
Just shades of Erik Karlsson to Derek Brassard in 2017, but despite the show he puts on, the Avs goaltending remains a complete mess. 5 goals on 23 shots just ain't good enough as Dallas beats them 5-3. The hashtag Sidney Crosby movement took a little bit of a break on Friday as he picks up an assist and gets a shockingly great performance from Tristan Jarry against Boston. There's also a bit of theatrics between Zadorov on Malkin as he gives him a poke from the bench, and Malkin turns around and gives it right back. The Penguins show a little bit of fight back. Jarry's sick of the food in Shanghai. He wants to stay in Pittsburgh, so he stops 31 shots to give the Penguins a much-needed win. Now, checking in on the quiet killers, the Kings had duck for Thanksgiving while the Flames fall short to Columbus. Couple of things here. Don't piss off 2 guys. First is Matthew Oliver. He squares off with Ryan Lomberg and beats the brakes off of him. Oliver is a monster, and honestly, this guy might be the undisputed heavyweight champion in the NHL right now. Second guy to not piss off, apparently, is Elvis Merzlikins. A little poke, some traffic, and he just starts throwing bombs at Mackenzie Weegar. The Jackets have heart, and they quietly extend their point streak to 5 games with the win. Then there was the showdown in the East between the Panthers and the Hurricanes. And it's probably a good bet that this ends up being the Eastern Conference Final. but Florida just knows how to turn it on in the most important games. They hold the NHL's leading scorer, Marty Necas, to 0 points, and the real Slim Shady can sit down because the Panthers are still the top dog to beat. Out west, they had their own juggernaut showdown between the Jets and the Golden Knights. Back and forth action all game long, but tied at threes. Brett Howden takes her to the net.
Here's Carlson, has been all around it tonight. Shot, score! And it's Howden!
He buries for the late game winner, and the Jets have now lost 3 out of their last 4. Everyone loves to hate Vegas, but the Knights are still very much for real. Saturday, hockey night. It's another day and another opportunity for the Panthers to own the Hurricanes. They swept them 2 years ago in the conference finals. They beat them yesterday, and today they absolutely spanked them 6-0. 3 power play goals, a 4-goal third period, and a 20-save shutout from Spencer Knight as the Panthers absolutely big dog the Hurricanes. Up in New York, the noise is getting loud, and if they lose to the Canadiens, it's a full-blown disaster. Goalies are getting brave as Quick joins in on the action of Tendy's jumping players. However, the Rangers were able to build up a 3-1 lead. That wasn't until Caulfield and Suzuki tie it to get the Rangers sweating bullets, but Capo Caco saves the day.
Hedel, Jones check from behind, in front, Cooley, they score!
The Rangers get a much-needed win, and even though it's against the Habs, they'll take it. Now, keeping it in the Metro, the Caps are absolute dogs, man. Missing their captain hasn't slowed them down one bit, and a stat that makes no sense is that they're 8 for 20 on the power play without Ovi in their lineup. Take the best goal scorer, arguably of all time, off a struggling power play, and all of a sudden they get going. They get 3 power play goals in this one, and the Caps win their 7th straight on the road and their 4th win in a row. Lou Lamoriello also threatened me this morning, saying he's going to break my legs if I keep talking smack about the Islanders. So let's highlight the fact that they shut out the Sabres, and also completely ignore the fact that they shut out, well, the Sabres. At least they held on to the lead for once, so that's a good start. That's a perfect opportunity for the Sens to hop all over a Sabres loss, and they don't. Anze Kopitar turns into Jose Canseco, and he bats in the game winner. Need a save in a pinch? Call 1-800-BIG-SAVE Dave Riddick. He stops 20 of 22, and the Kings win 3 in a row. We also got to highlight the legacy weekend from the Wild captain Jared Spurgeon. First, he leads the boys to a dub on a Friday and follows it up with the OT winner on a Saturday. What do you know? The Preds also lost, which makes it their 4th in a row. But according to Google, U2 is actually expected to tour in 2025 and potentially visit the Vegas Sphere. So there's still a glimmer of hope for Nashville. Meanwhile, in St. Louis, Jordan Binnington performs highway robbery.
Going wide, in on goal, rebound, what a save by Binnington on Couturier! Call the cops!
That save was glovely. The Blues look like they got a bit more of a jump under their new head coach, and in the dying seconds trailing by 1, it's Neighbors, who bangs home a loose puck late to force overtime. But this is where the rookie Matvei Michkov seems to shine the most. The kid just scores big goals, and the Flyers are 4-0-1 in their last 5. Meanwhile, the Leaf Cup parade being delayed due to injuries was tough for fans to deal with midweek. But by Saturday, they get back Matthew Knies and finally their captain Austin Matthews. Shockingly, Nikita Kucherov pulls out last second in this game, so the Leafs feast on a Lightning team without their best player. They score 4 straight and almost made it a very boring game, but they got to almost blow the lead to maintain the seed of paranoia in their fan base. However, Joseph Wall is the wonder wall, and he makes some huge stops in a 38-save performance to secure the win. The Leafs get healthier, they win, and the parade is back on, baby. I know it's hard to keep up with all these trends, but hashtag save Sidney Crosby remains on hold as they absolutely steamroll the Flames. They win 3 straight for the first time this season, and that just shows you how brutal they've been so far. But hey, there's lots of season left for them to turn it around. Speaking of absolute beatings, Utah laid the smackdown so badly on Vegas that they may actually get promoted to the Premier League. Christmas comes early for the hockey club and Alex Kerfoot as Samsonov plays Santa and gives an absolute gift for a brutal goal against. Vegas erases whatever they did last night with a piss-poor performance and are currently looking into their IR options as we speak. McDavid versus McKinnon was also on tap, but this was a gritty win for the Oilers as their depth shines offensively while shutting down the Avs monsters. That's why we left it up to the true superstars in San Jose to put up the points as the kids stay hot. Celebrini picks up an assist, and the Fresh Prince of San Jose, Will Smith, scores again. However, performance of the game goes to Mackenzie Blackwood as he stones the Kraken, making 36 stops. The Sharks got swagger, and they cap off a hectic week of hockey. So, these are the standings and scoring leaders at the end of Week 8. What did you think about this week? Who surprised you? Who pissed you off? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you want to check out some of our breakdowns from this past week, click on any of the videos here and subscribe to the channel.